Cool. There we go. All right. So, what do we got for today? Well, um, I'm going to call something out right at the top. Um, and that's that for the last 2 days in a row. Um, hold on one second. So, last two sessions in a row, what I've noticed is that the overnight has actually run down to the sigma, the -1 sigma of range, even though the RTH session has been well within it. Apart from being irritating because you're not getting to be part of that, I think that signifies something, somewhat of an acceleration of the downside. Now, a couple things I want to point out, a couple of contradictory pieces of information. One is that we're in this price channel. We had growing volume on Friday, which had us close to the top of the price channel, but not the gap. So that was one major thing. And so we're into the price channel, and essentially what that means is that we've got a pretty healthy distance we could make it back across as far as Wyckoff price channel ideas go. That we could see an acceleration back to this pull back down here somewhere in this range. Not today, but like that could be a campaign that's underway. That's the highest time frame. Not trading off of that, but making a point. So then the other thing I want to pull out is that when the campaign we've been trading for the last week was this buying campaign that was up that took us it took us out of balance and then started pushing us all the way across. And you remember, I think it was Thursday. Yeah, it must have been Thursday. I marked the top of balance, and one of the ideas is that we would just not escape gravity here and we would just roll over. So we made a lower high and then the overnight impulse down. And then the Friday session rotated up. And then look at this. Now, this is something I just noticed and I want to point it out. Look at that. Look at where it happens. Look at that. It's growing demand. Look at where it happens. Make a tiny little high relative to that, but that's all. And so that's in accordance. But then look at this. And then look at that. So what we call that is effort, no result. So when it bang, 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 bang like that and couldn't get through, it did what it's supposed to do. When we run out of demand and there's too much supply, prices drop. That's natural market dynamics. So the other thing is that we're also seeing an expansion of delta on the downside in this wave, 2 waves down. So my ears are pricked for the idea that what we are seeing is a move back across this balance area, and buyers are going to have to either step up or sellers are going to have to let off the gas because we're coming into the low side of balance. I don't know if like large time frame traders trade like that or they care or anything like that, or it's just a natural dynamic. But at the bottom of this balance area is where I'm going to expect us to start seeing shortening waves to the downside and see increasing waves to the upside if this balance is to hold. But I do expect us to make it completely across it today. So I don't see a price channel set up yet that invalidates Fridays. So this is Fridays, and then I kind of thought maybe there was one here, but I'm realizing that this is a failed breakout and it's just coming back. So we're just going to hold that for now. So the plans basically are this. I think the buyers have disappeared, and it's interesting that now that I think back on Thursday and Friday, we kept holding in our minds, well, buyers can do anything. Well, yeah, they can, but look where we were. We were at the top where they should have been most aggressive. We were in the middle where like really this is your chance, and then it didn't get anywhere. Didn't even close the gap. So now I don't think buyers are a real threat really until we get down to some actual support. So to that end, I think maybe if price retraces to what will amount to developing value here and value area high of a previous day here, which this is all for me. Nobody else needs to really see this, but I'm just going to point it out so you can understand why I'm thinking the way that I am. This balance area on this day, there's a nice untested value area low that held a previous low a day. So I think that's, that may mean something. So I'm going to keep my eye on it. And so if we pull back to that, and I see an imbalance to the short side 3-1, and I see a momentum set up and lowering opposition, then I'm going to see, I won't mind an aggressive short here. The second idea is that I'm waiting for it to come all the way back to VWAP or to some volume structure back up in this area, and then, different play, but same idea. Can expect it to roll back down to development value, and then perhaps take out the overnight low, depending on what time that all happens. The second idea is that if we make it down to here first, if we make it down to this balance area low where there is some structure over there, or even if we don't, that we could see a situation like that. And I'm prepared for that, so I know exactly what I want to see if that's going to happen. What will be consequential is how we trade this balance area right here. These what I see is two distinct auctions, and you can see that there was the same thing on Friday, and you can see it here again, like that. So that's consequential to me. It doesn't mean I'm immediately long or anything like that. That would be a harder trade to get on, but I don't mind taking it because it's just one trade. So what I would want to see that is a higher time frame expansion of delta and the sellers disappear, and then I would be more inclined to think that's got some legs. So not too complicated today, but those are my ideas.
Right. Not too complicated, but also looking for what I was thinking too is that I'm going to need to see in real time, kind of what happens, because for me, and it seems like for you, we're kind of in the middle of things right now, and it's difficult to game a single trade in one direction at this moment,
I think
I
that's
think.
right. Yeah, it's far enough to where I'm comfortable leaning harder on the short side, but I'm not unsuspicious of the seller's ability to hold it down for whatever reason at the open or whenever they plan to do that. As we've
Mm.
always said, it's just who knows when the heck they're gonna show up. So I've got to bear that in mind. I am not. I'm trying to click on your screen, but it's just dice right now.
Not coming up.
Not yet. No.
Um, what do I do again to refresh?
Control R, I think.
That was it.
There we go. Okay, perfect.
So I'm just showing my daily chart. I drew up a micro composite around this area. And, in the longer term, bigger picture stuff, it still seems quite bullish to me. Friday certainly was not anything that would change that picture. And if you go back to Wednesday, where, we really kind of, I guess was it Wednesday? No, it was Friday. So on Friday, we were looking potentially for this balance area top to kind of hold. It basically did, right? And we just kind of balanced in this area. This is the first sign of sellers since the move up, from this breakout area. But it's not really. It's hard to say this is a strong uptrend, but at
Hmm.
the same time, we continue to move value higher. So in the picture that we have right now in the longer term, it's still quite bullish. And on Friday, talk specifically on when I was reviewing on this low that was going into place, because I felt it was a rounding type of low that people would look at as a potential to short and be more likely to short in the hole. And I think that's really what happened. And this was the first test of the breakout, which you can better see over here. This was the first test in the overnight session where we kind of pushed down just a little, and we didn't push down that much. So, and it was the first test, and we held. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about here. So the bigger picture is that this was the balance area we were in. This was the balance area we broke out from. And this area is what we held, right? And now we're up in here. And I think we even, when I was talking about this on Friday, I thought we would need some sort of a running start to get through this if we're going to have it. And what I mean by that is you need a pullback that's going to come down on more velocity to break through that area, because I think that area is still going to be a bullish support. And I think this was the same area you were talking about as well. The other thing that the ES has done that Dow doesn't seem to have done is it did make a new high. It did fill the gap Friday. There's no gap above us. And it even pushed higher in the overnight session. So I think S&Ps are actually doing better than YM along the way as well. So where we are, and I say we're kind of in the middle, we're right at the close of Friday, basically. We're right at the point of control, basically, of Friday. And I'm going to be looking for, especially at the opening, is how this market kind of, if we see a directional movement from this area. I'm expecting we could see two things.
If you're seeing movement,
and I think they're
start to
similar to
sense a
what you were just
desired
saying. I
act.
think that, if this low holds right here, which is possible, we could just see a drift and some sort of a pushback up in here, balance above the mid, and do one of these where we just balance in this upper end of the range. I don't expect to see a trend higher at this point. On the other side, if we do get some selling, I think that this area now is more vulnerable. We tested it once. If by chance we were to get down in that area again, it would be more likely to give way. But we've seen these things hold before too. I think this is really important for the bulls to hold this area. And I think they will try on the first test. So I would imagine it would go something like this, assuming that we get some sort of a open auction or what have you in the morning. And let's say we do start to trend down into this area, I would expect that we see something really big off of that low initially. And it might be a slightly lower low, it might be slightly higher low, but something big. And then it will be determined if the bears can really do something.
I see.
Because if they're going to really, if they're going to do this, it's going to take some effort. One way to maybe find that effort would be that rebound effect that kind of pushes right back down again and then balances right in here. That would be a sign that the bears are starting to take control. But I do expect, again, if it does get down here, another big bounce off of this area. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was at a higher low would happen first. So to me, this is right in the middle. I'm going to be looking for two things: directional move lower, which I might buy on first test at these zones, depending on the delta and what goes on down there, or a balance area that kind of tries to push higher, which in that case, I'll be looking to buy a pullback for an extension into the upper ranges. That's really all I got, because we're in the middle. It does favor the short side, but again, we're in that bigger picture balance, a bigger picture bullish phase that I don't see us changing anytime soon.
Yeah, this reminds me of so many times when you get what looks like a pretty strong move down and you want to chase it, or then you end up, shooting 2 or 3 bullets looking for continuation, only to have it run you over and go back to the other side of the larger time frame balance. So I think, yeah, I think it's an interesting time to either, if you're going to be aggressive and jump on an initial short or an initial long, it's got to have strength, and the moment it shows weakness, you got to be thinking about whether or not the larger time frame balance area is holding.
Yeah. And I think the more it looks like it has today, and I'll show you what I mean by what I'm about to say real quickly. This is the book map version of what's going on in the last little while. And we're seeing these little balance areas and then a thrust lower and then a push back up and a slam down and then a push back up and a slam down and a push back up. And these are big, kind of big moves that are happening. And what I think happens when you get these big liquidation drops like this, you get a lot of people shorting the whole.
Mm,
I mean, I think they see this and they go, okay, they're finally here.
right.
Sellers are finally taking over. And then it just pushes right back up again, nice and slow, and just chomps away at these shorts. I think you got to be really careful with these drops in this environment where the long term um, picture is bullish. I think that this sets up people to jump in on the short side because I heard something this weekend that I think is really interesting. If you look at the default settings and how people look at equities, it's always being skeptical. I think when they see this drop, they're looking for the market to fall. They see a drop like this and they short those lows and they get killed.
Mm,
So I'm going to try to be careful of that to do the same.
yeah. Yeah. Or just keep it super tight risk and manage it tight because you know right where you're at in the auction.
Yes. Yep. If you're
Very
going to
good.
short the whole, you definitely want to make sure you're doing better than that. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, that was easy.
yep. Yes,
Uh,
sir.
let me